Is Arukh here. There's Simon Lamed Vav Sif Mem Zayin to Mem Ches. This is supplemental day 223 of the Arukh Yomi. Mem Zayin. Those who ask away the lung is missing part of it. That's Ram Perches Din Zayin. That's the opinion of Ram. Shkasa V'zel Shon. This is right. Right. Nim says Kula Shtei Rugos. If you find the whole thing. There's just two patches. It doesn't have a interesting cut into ears. Obviously, it's going to the lobes as 9. Treva. If so, the actual lung is missing. Even though it's not pierced, it's as if it's lacking minyan or unos from the number of the lobes. Utrefa. Therefore, if you have a dry spot, you find a place which is dry, actually put it with tzibur so it can flake off by the fingernail. I raise the chutz, it's like it's missing a treifa. I feel kosher, even it's a small, very small area. End quote. But tough so two version of poskim to two and all poskim lunch is such cost the chain chaser gufa rea kamras chiston shebachutz. When he says something's missing, he means something missing on the outside. Such as there's a crease, a kemet, and a fold, etc. Talking about it, but it seems more they're saying like this. Just like when you're missing the ears, which are the lobes, it's trefa. So to the actual substance of the lung. Which is missing. Here it says gufareya refers to uma, which is the large lobe. It only has one uma. Okay, so as he's saying, the large lobe, one large lobe is missing. We know a person can survive with one lung, one of the sides of the lung, even though the other side is not there, but that doesn't mean it's not treifa. So he says here, the Rav lo kamar begar rak the chaser una treifa. He says if the una is missing treifa, kom kavachomer look chaser uma. It's certainly true if it's missing an uma. One of the larger lobes. Vakol nichav mashashim mishnah is all included by the mishnah says and daf mem beis o shechasera if it's lacking. Zer shamar rehu kumo shechasim in unas. Now he says it's as if you're lacking from the number of lobes. Come by the chison uma have chison una. Missing an uma is like missing an una. As we showed many times in the diagram, they're all called lobes in English. Just one is called, the bottom ones are called basal lobes, and the other ones are called different names, but they're all called lobes. So I guess Ozen, the upper ones are called lobes because O's 9 because they're like ears. At the bottom, then you have ears. But anyway, he's saying there's no difference, of course. Says, but you find a dry spot. I feel like it's very small beard var. But he said, it says, if you have a lung which is partially dry, it's treif. The treif is yoshim machmas. You could say the reason why it's treif, if it's dry, it's like because it's like a hole. The average stuff. Okay, if it's dry, it's going to get a hole there. Now you can't, but that's the case. Someone's talking about mitzasa. Why does it have to say partially dry? Pshita. That goes to treif. It's obvious. And any size hole is treif. Rambam says no. So therefore, must see the bottom of the treifas of yavish of dried is because it's lacking. Therefore, I'd say the shame chisar mamish ain't treif chisar una. So I might say quite reasonably, just like it's something actually missing. It's only if you're missing the entire una or uma. The low b'chisar not by the. If you're missing part, then come on, so they say anything was dry. Commercial, and that's he has to tell me the yavish dry is worse. Nation suffer the savage eventually the entire lung will dry out. And if he's a gamaram, when the Ram comes out holding that, and the on the outside is taka kosher. The chisan he's talking about is the chisan of an entire ummah, or the yavish even mitzasa. The brackets, he says, longish brackets here. I ain't saying Tursi Kusil, Yusuf Khan Heshbish can come also. And then he says, Saint Him, I guess, Mission Torcha Bela Tides, Kush of Testament, Zion and base, Dira Maskavo. Because Mishnah has difficulty answering that which places asked. Sheikh Shua asked Osin Kemet Vesedek, those who answer a crease or a crack, but Chitzarn Alarea or any thing missing on the lung. Why didn't like Rabbi Shimon? Look what they call Ayin Sham. Let's not quite everybody. Zelfi Amnasa Shram Emi B'Shitas Elo Haisim. Is the coin is because he learns that the Ram holds that like those who answer the chiston on the outside. Advain Eno Sever came, but according to what we say, he doesn't hold it way. But Zeshlo Tir Shon the Mai V'Chaser Una Uma. Why didn't he say answer say was missing an actual tire Una Uma? Kosher Emes Zel Perish Mishnah. And because this is in fact the Mishnah the Osha Chasra when it's missing, which because the Ram so perish Mishnah Mishnah. Okay, no Rav also by no writes this. But the Rav said B'Siyat Yishmael Siman Lamed Hasiv Gimai and Sham already explained this. There's Kusil Gan Torah Gan Kim Zayin Sham on the other side there were Pashkum Mosh Kosavnu. Skita has difficulty. He says it's simple like we wrote Viduk. We're going to stop Nusham like we wrote there. Viduk and Lamed Hey Gimel. He wrote. Let's see what he says there. That something about whether he says he says also that this idea that chaser means an una or an uma, not a kemet or a chritz, according to the Rambam. Okay. Mem ches. Ufis according to kem shkoach we say now shayim achronim. See all the shayim achronim who is serving not kiyikol din. The primary law is that chisar mechutz lav klumu, something missing outside, is not a problem. She's static with kemet. If there's a crack or a crease in the lung, there's a concern of something missing going to mokum echad or harei and mucha, such in one place there's a depression in the skin of the lung. We shot away from the rest of the lung. But it does come up when you inflate it. But it doesn't bubble. Let's say what's not problem. Some people say, well, the Rambam has a problem with a chritz or a kemet. So he says, no, since we clarified with God's help, the Rambam also is this way, ain't there less or no opinion, there's no opinion to answer. The difference seems to me that the Zesh Kosu, when there's an additional problem in the crease or the crack, such as there's a circle adhesion or a bore or a bubble, then look at that so that we regard as a tight to the so a double whammy. It says in there, it's because they hold the ramos that a chisron on the outside is a treifa. Being tight to so, and therefore, based on the principles that they laid down by Tata Reza or a double whammy, even there's one opinion that says treif after lo kaiman we don't hold the opinion. Nevertheless, the choice is going to make a double whammy. I feel much brown about bad. So when we clarified there's no problem here in this scenario of a depression on the outside. Those want to say that even if it's missing on the inside, everybody agrees it's kosher. No, I read that wrong. Here's the thing: even if the chisar on the inside, where everybody agrees it's kosher, there's an additional problem with the membrane. Like a bubble or an adhesion. That makes tatarei. There's Arukh no, it doesn't seem true at all. But since the lung on the outside is complete and hope good, what do we care about missing the inside? The Rama is evidence to the Rama about he's macher by chiston on the outside. If it's like an indented spoon, like we said. A bent spoon. Nevertheless, says in Lamed Zayin, the buach chritz v'kemet treifa. If there's a bubble on the crease or on the furrow or the crease, it's treifa. Tam David could say buah. There's micha because it's like two bubbles which are adjacent to each other. It should treat me tam zev. Only tam tataresa. So he says it's an issue of it's a specific problem of a buah al hachritz, but not a kind of tataresa. The bracket says I am bush is right. So you can samish because the kemet and the rail so a crease is not a floor. Maybe right means I brings evidence to this. That's the right. So I was saying missing the inside, together with something on the outside. and lacking the outside, the law of Itan so it's not a double whammy. Mishneh time for two reasons. First of all, so missing the inside is not a flaw at all. But the criminal sticking Mishneh Reosos also because the membranes interrupt between the two flaws. And that is it for today.